Dr. Fatima Albalooshi, the Manama Dialogue focuses so often on military solutions to security problems in this region, but I know you passionately believe that education holds the key to a long-term solution.
Definitely the stability of the region and to look forward for a bright future. We have to have the right means to achieve it, and education is the right means to achieve it. By education, I talk about creating knowledge, creating confidence in our children, to be able to stand up for themselves, to be able to choose their future by themselves, not to have something to be implemented over them. And this is what security issues are, very much attached to it. And this is what we are saying. We have to work on preventing having future terrorists or extremists or victims of violence. Prevention is by having good education.
There are, sadly, across this region now, millions of children living in refugee camps and internally displaced people camps. Are those places breeding grounds for terrorism because those children have no access to education?
Unfortunately and sadly, refugee camps, people who are also traveling as migrants to other countries seeking refuge there, their situation is very sad. And because, unfortunately right now we are like in our 4th year or 6th year, children are out of schools. They have dropped out, they didn't have any education, or children are being born with no education at all. And by not having education, as you mentioned, it's the right material to be used by whoever wants to abuse those children and use them for their own purposes, such as terrorists, such as pedophiles, such as human trafficking criminals. All of them are, those refugee camps and those displaced refugees, unaccompanied minors are all being targets for that, and being, as you said, could be a breeding material for them.
What kinds of actual stories have you heard from these places about how people are being manipulated? Here
in the region, of course, all of us heard about how different malicious groups are taking those, uneducated, poor, even psychologically, disrupted. They use them for their own purposes, and we've seen it all over, the region, in many places where terrorist attacks have been using children and youth for their own purposes. Even in our region, many of the recruitment by some of the major terrorist groups, they recruited school dropouts, they recruited children without education. They recruited them for their purposes, and they made them just travel and go and be part of them. This what brings us back, is that education is the way to build the knowledge for a human being to be able to have confidence in himself, to be able to make the right choices for his future.
Just finally and briefly, what more real commitment do you want to see from governments in this region?
It's very important that in our region, in the Middle East, governments, they have to put more budget for education. I don't mean increasing it by 5% or 2%. I mean by increasing it to be even half of the budget of the country. Because with education, you'll have economic development, you'll have social development, you'll have people who are even competent politically, people who will boost the country's economy if you have the right, graduates and youth who are educated. You'll have less unemployment. So there is absolutely no waste if you put budget in education.
Dr. Fatima Albalooshi, thank you for your time.
You're welcome.